We're watching the semiconductors. These names are always on our watch list, and today is no exception. Let's bring in the expert panel to have this discussion. Russell Holly, Managing Editor, Future Labs, and Scott Kessler, Global Sector Lead, Technology, Media, Telecommunications, Third Bridge. Thank you both for being with us. So, gentlemen, this is an exciting topic. Russell, I'll start with you. Do you have a favorite in the group, and if so, why?
Yeah, I think the most interesting moving into the back half of the year is going to be AMD. On top of having just a really great year so far, there's been a ton of performance potential and a lot of really great sales, especially, with COVID-19, there were a ton of people who started working from home and needed better computers in the home. So that benefited AMD a lot. But as we move into the second half of the year, both Microsoft and Sony are going to be launching high-end consoles that are going to be powered by AMD's hardware. And those are going to sell quite well as we move into the holiday season. So by around November, you're going to start seeing a lot of AMD hardware starting to leave shelves.
So, Scott, tell me your thoughts right off the bat, because Russell brought up a lot of points, everything from gaming to his favorite and why. Why don't you expand, Scott? Tell me what you like and why.
Yeah, a name that we would point to is Nvidia. For many of the same reasons. Nvidia obviously is the established leader in GPU chips, and it seems like GPU continued to kind of gain in terms of market opportunity over the last couple of years because people have seen that those chips can do a lot of different things. Conversations we've had indicate that this kind of momentum will continue. I think a lot of people look at AMD as kind of the emerging player when it comes to this particular category. But if you want to look at a company that's large, established, and driven by GPU sales, Nvidia would seem to probably be the logical choice there.
And there's no doubt when you talk about gaming, and you mentioned some of the consoles, gentlemen, there's no doubt if there's a new Xbox or there's a new PlayStation, which are both due out by the end of the year, all the gentlemen in my house would be very excited and would like to get those things. That being said, I will say when we look forward to 5G, for example, Russell, turn it forward to what we are expecting. Where might the strength be there?
One of the really interesting things about trying to predict 5G right now is the difficulty in deciding, which version of 5G is going to become prominent in the United States. And that's kind of an interesting challenge right now. Verizon, for example, has flipped on a lot of 5G services, but it really hasn't, kind of reached the peak excitement, as far as user share that I think people are going for. So I'm actually a little hesitant to name any one particular brand here because there's still a lot of things in the air when it comes to 5G. We're all very excited about talking about it. It seems like a thing that will become very cool in the future, but it's kind of hard to pick one specific technology and say this is the way forward.
Right, and I'm not saying that this will be the winner, but is Qualcomm positioned well, Russell?
Qualcomm is basically the only name when you're dealing with things in the United States. They power every phone that doesn't have the Apple logo on it. There is especially with the Kirin processors being shut down by Huawei elsewhere, it seems like it's either going to be Qualcomm or Apple in the U.S. for the foreseeable future. So yes, they're in a fantastic position.
Scott, it's interesting because we talk a lot about the gaming and Nvidia. Intel has lagged, delaying of chips. There are some people who say some of these consoles won't even sell the same because everybody's downloading games. What do you say to the group and some of the weaker names in the group that currently, I'm not saying Intel's a loser forever, just right now it took a pause. There are people who love Intel for the long term, or a name like Micron, for example, came under some pressure with a downgrade.
Yeah, so when you talk about those two names, Intel obviously has been a semiconductor bellwether for a long time. And I think people looked at them as being perhaps poorly positioned in light of a lack of exposure when it comes to the GPU category. That's something that they had been focused on and investing in. And now, obviously, we learned recently that they were delaying essentially the rollout of their 7 nanometer product, which essentially ties in to this particular market. And that essentially gives Nvidia and AMD more runway to take share and to win customers over the longer term. So there's no question that there are some issues when it comes to execution at Intel. The other thing I'd point out, Nicole, which is really important, is even though these companies are focused on GPUs and the historical focus has been gaming and gaming consoles, the reality is that when you look at Nvidia, for example, they are in the data center, they are working with the hyperscaler businesses. It really has become a technology that has been widely adopted and will continue to gain traction. And I think that's one of the things that clearly Intel has missed over the last, say, I don't know, 2 to 3 years, for example.
Yeah, and Russell, I have 10 seconds left. Just 10 seconds. I know Huawei was on your radar.
Yeah, Huawei's in a really tough position, having to just retire its Kirin processors. It's evidence that the feud with the U.S. is going to continue to cause some huge problems for that company, and it's going to have some massive effects in what the landscape looks like in China for smartphones over the next year.
Right, but it might be good for us in some ways.
Well, maybe. Less competition is not always a great thing.
I see. Russell Holly, Managing Editor, Future Lab. Scott Kessler, Media Tech Telecommunications, Third Bridge.